Uh, May God's peace and blessings be upon those who follow guidance. I just want to show you an example why these Quranists shouldn't be taken seriously. And in all honesty, I've called this individual to a debate. He's not even accepting it. He's running away. But I'm going to show you an example how brain dead and delusional they are. They don't have the simplest, like they call us ignorant. They call us Sunnis, ignorant, delusional. Wallahi, they are so deluded. Their arguments are so trashed. Yani, even a 12-year-old can respond and show the hypocrisy and their double standards and inconsistencies. Wallah. It's like Allah has removed all aql from their minds. They make arguments, and I constantly read their arguments, and the same arguments they make against the hadith, you can literally turn it on the Quran. You can literally turn it on the Quran, right? And here's an example. An individual called Faladikaita, he writes to Nejato, he says, I agree with what you said, but I also think that you should agree that there are some things about hadith that are true and may be original, some prophecies. So I believe that we can't believe that everything in hadith is wrong, but can't say that everything is right. Some things may be true, others not, so and so forth. So basically, he's saying, because a lot of the hadith rejectors completely reject it, right? They completely reject the hadith. There are some who accept some that are in line with the Quran, but majority of them will completely reject it all. And what this brother is saying is, how can you reject it? Because there are still true statements, there are still true prophecies within the Sahih Hadiths. So how can you reject that part of it? And this is his response. This is what he says. Nejato, who goes by the other name of YouTube, Haneefan, and he's got a Nejato name. He writes, thank you for your comment, follower. He says, I do not see anything wrong with taking the hadith literature as purely historical information only. He says, I do not believe that it is revelation, nor is it a source of guidance, nor is it authoritative or legislative. I'm pretty certain that we may find some true statements in Buddhist and Hindu scripture, but does that mean it is from God? He then says, the Quran tells us very clearly that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did not know the future ghaib. However, he is portrayed as a soothsayer, fortune teller in the hadith. Subhanallah, he is like Yoda, and there isn't anything that he doesn't know. Therefore, I do not take these hadiths that speak of eschatology seriously, because the knowledge of the ghaib is with Allah alone. So, how do we respond to this? Let's respond. I said, you're a pathetic liar. The Prophet never claimed he knew the future from himself. This was a vision given to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, twisting the hadith, are we? Also notice his argument. He equates other religions to the hadiths by saying, are other religions true because there are true things in their books? Clearly, you can't even think one can make the same argument regarding the Quran. We could also say the Quranic truths are really insignificant because other world religious texts also have truths. Perhaps will you now reject the Quranic truths? Will you reject taking your usul? Would you reject taking your judgments from the Quran? Because other religious texts like the Hindus or the Christian texts have truths as well. So notice how we can literally turn his argument and throw it back in his face. He claims the hadiths shouldn't be taken as a source of guidance, But the hadith say that having sex with an animal is haram. However, the Quran makes no mention of it being haram. So may I ask, are you still persistent we cannot take from the hadith as a source of guidance, a moral guidance against haram? He says he does not take from the hadith as a source of guidance, but everyone can take from Mr. Najato to be a source of guidance outside of the Quran, because Mr. Najato is the explainer of the Quran. He makes videos. He was sent to explain the Quranic verses, what they really mean regarding chopping off their hands. What does it mean? Is the Quran, is a prophet a messenger, or is he a prophet? Obey Rasul, obey Allah. What does these mean? He comes to explain all of these things. But the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mr. Najato is a greater authority than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam couldn't come to explain the Quran. Yes, so Mr. Najato is a greater authority than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these people claim they respect the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now Mr. Najato, maybe he shouldn't really see the Quran as a guidance, a revelation coming from Allah. He should just see it as like any other historical religious document. Maybe he should just see it that way, because again, there are truths in other religions as well, just like there are truths in the Quran.